So, just another quick and handheld video about virtual VDJ2023 and a DVS setup based on a question I got. If you could use this DVS setup and do mixing, even though you only had one turntable. And yeah, you kind of sort of can. Of course, usually with two, but let's see how it works with one. So I've already done another video where I had a secondary turntable over here, where I now only have headphones. But I'll link that in the video description, and I'll also go through how you set this stuff up. But right now I have my headphones and a mixer in the center here, and then just one turntable over here, running a virtual vinyl, if you will, so a time code based vinyl. So that's already set up, and that's controlling deck B up here. That means since I'm in relative mode, that if I drop the needle here, it'll start playing the loaded track. No matter where I drop it, basically, because it's in relative mode. So that plays, and that's fine. But now I want to mix into the second deck, right? So I can control this just fine. But what do when I want to mix into the second deck, what do I do? Well, let me just turn this up for a second. So we actually have a feature or a command called swap decks. So what you want to do is you want to tell Virtual DJ to simply put everything on the other deck. So this deck over here is empty and ready to put stuff in. Yeah, you want to mix. So the swap deck are mapped to the panel button up here on the mixer. You can put it on a keyboard key if you want, because but because this mixer is MIDI enabled, it's just as easy to put it here. So when I click this button up here, you can see that up here it swaps the decks. So it simply puts everything from deck B into deck A, and that also works when a track is actually playing. So I'll show that in a second. So that's what it does. So that means that right now I can play this track. And then I can click the button. And then I get silence. And why do I do that? Well, that's because the mixer doesn't roll, right? So that's turned all the way to the right on the crossfader. So that, of course, doesn't let deck A through. So I have to put that back to center. And that goes for everything on this mixer. You need to align the decks on the mixer here before you do the swap decks. If you don't do that, well, you'll just get some weird audio interruptions, right? So remember to do that before you do the swap decks. But now I click the swap decks, so that means that now that this is actually on the right of the mixer, but up here it's controlling deck 1 or deck A, which is on the left, right? That means I'm ready to put some new stuff into deck A and actually have that play on deck A and then mix into it. So of course I want to bring all the way to the left, so it doesn't get interrupted when I load a new track. And then you can load a track from your keyboard keys also if you map it, or whatever you have available. But right now I'm just going to load it up here using this. You probably also want to map this stuff down here, sync, cue, and play, because you're probably going to need it. So map that on your keyboard keys also, if you only have an old school analog mixer that doesn't have MIDI capabilities. Right now I've done that. So now I can actually play the secondary deck. I can sync it first if I want to, and I can play. And now that works too over here. So now I'm controlling deck B. So that means I can actually cue it. So cue, press the cue button. That still spins, but that's just because it's in relative mode. So now I'm actually ready to throw it in. So I throw it in. That's not perfectly aligned, so I'll speed this up a little bit. Like that, so it's pretty well aligned. Like that, and then I'll start mixing. So now we mixed into a new track on deck B, right? Which was originally playing the first track, now it's playing the second track. So now I can stop deck A if I want to, or I can swap first. So I do another swap. First I pause it, that's important, because of course I have to, so I cue here over here, because I want to bring this in first before I do the swap. Then I do the swap. See it swapping? So now that's playing deck 1, and this one is ready to have a third track loaded in and mixed in. So that's basically how you can do this stuff and continue going back and forth using just one turntable to control it, using timecode, virtual vinyl, and then have the mixer mix in and out of the tracks like you usually would. There's only this little cave catch, and you have to remember to align the mixer when you do this stuff, so you don't get a rub sound, and if you play load a new track, it does and then starts playing, that you don't just start blasting it out. You really have to know what you're doing with your volumes and also the other keys, and preparing the mixer that you're actually gonna do the swaps, right? But if you have that under control, then you can certainly mix tracks using just one turntable and a mixer.